Okay, how's my hair?
Yeah, it looks good.
Why'd you have to think about it?
No, I was just checking to make sure.
Okay. Oh, hey, here we are. It's the polite fight. Like, it's time for us to have a polite fight.
Yeah, it is. On what, Fargo?
On Fargo, yes. And today we're focusing on a couple of points from the second episode, which I was quite fond of. I thought it continued the strong trajectory of this season. What did you think?
I wasn't a big fan. I thought,
Really?
plot-wise, it was fine. But I thought there were a few performances that weren't dialed quite right. Everybody seems to have liked Mike Milligan. I thought he was a little.
Mike Milligan. He's so chipper in that first scene in the car, talking about the lobster claw metaphor, which that was the moment when I was like, okay, I'm on board with this guy. Not you?
It just felt like he was trying a little too hard. He's playing an archetype instead of being a character who's archetypal.
Okay, let's enough talking about what we liked and didn't like. Let's get to the footage. And the first, we're looking at a couple of shots here, I believe, with Peggy's boss.
So in your review, you said that you sort of saw her as more of a force than a human being. And I'm just curious what the fuck that even means.
Oh, well, I think that I explained it pretty well in the review, but in case I didn't, this is something that happens in Fargo a lot. Like the Solversons, both Molly last season and Lou this season, I often perceive them just as a force. They're just sort of this force that acts relentlessly to resolve this story. To me, Peggy's boss feels like a force because A, she's not named, which I found very curious, and B, she reminded me of Malvo in the way that she reacted to the toilet paper and to the lies about the hole in the windshield, right? She just smiles about it. She just sort of takes it all in because she is this transgressive force, and anything that sort of feeds into that pleases her. And to me, it ascends a little bit above just mere motivation, which of course any character has, right?
I just don't think that necessarily makes her more of a force than a character. I think that whether or not she has a name doesn't play into that.
How does it not? Well, why doesn't she have a name?
The Solversons have a name, and are they more force than character?
But you're being so narrow-minded here, Gus.
I think that
you're being so fucking literal.
literal.
See, the thing is that like, I'm not saying like she's gonna be a force forever, or that she's not, maybe she's just gonna be a minor character, and she's not even gonna be that big a deal. I don't know. But the way she comes off to me is it's more about the effect that she is having on Peggy than about her herself. And the reason her not having a name feeds into that is because it just gives her less of an identity and makes her more of a presence there,
But I also don't think that her character or her actions or her manner are mostly about Peggy. I think that's how we are sort of seeing them because we have seen more of Peggy and we're a little more aligned with her. But I think that the filmmaking here gives us a lot of access to her thoughts and her point of view. The shots of Peggy even feel like a continuation of that point of view shot of her butt, where it's from the low angle, which is where the boss is sitting, whereas the shots of the boss are clearly not from Peggy's point of view because they're level with the boss, whereas Peggy's up higher.
Peggy's pretty short.
No, she's not that short.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that. I just don't think it's a big deal.
I think it's the kind of visual thing that subtly shows you what to do. And I think that you're right though that our previous alignment with Peggy makes we're more interested in the context of this scene in relationship to her than we are to the boss. But I think that these visual cues sort of even that out a little bit more so that we start getting into the boss's mindset. So let's talk about UFOs, not because we necessarily disagree on it, but just because I think it's something that everybody's sort of interested in.
You have some commenter theories, right?
So Kit Carp and Sock Puppet, and maybe a couple other people as well, those just the first two that I saw.
Congratulations, Kit Carp and Sock Puppet. You're the ones we noticed.
They said like, oh, obviously the balloon that Molly finds is the UFO or the thing that looked like the UFO from last episode. Which to me, that could be. It's certainly there for you to wonder about.
Do I think that the balloons were the UFO that Rye saw? No, I don't.
Too early to tell, I think.
But I think that the effect of the balloon, whether you think it's true or not, is to add another layer to this strangeness here, because you don't know at what level of fantasy it's grounded. So I think that the theory is important, even if it's not true.
Yeah, I think it's the kind of thing that certainly adds to the show as you're watching it, but that may end up being very disappointing for some people in the long term. I think that those things always, it's like a fine line to walk. There's not a lot of places that can do it very well. Twin Peaks obviously does it probably better than anybody.
Yeah. So what about that shot, just before we finish up, what about that shot with Peggy's boss? What did you make of that? Because I felt like
the pull-out.
It felt kind of like this UFO one.
I mean,
it was so smooth, and that's
Yeah.
the thing. When you have a period setting, sometimes using modern shooting techniques
Takes
can
you out
be,
of it.
can
Yeah.
be jarring,
Yeah.
right? And I think it's intentionally so at the end of that scene when Peggy's boss is driving away. Like, this pullback feels like a very 2015 pullback.
Yeah.
It's so smooth. You know, it doesn't have the jitter you'd see, I think, in any shot like that was shot in the 70s.
Absolutely
right?
not. And I think that you can say the same thing about the lens flares that you see reflected
Yes.
in the windows. I mean, those look like they're straight out of Star Trek, J.J. Abrams' Star Trek. So I agree with you about this shot, that it also feels as if it's from that alien point of view because it's such a 21st century shooting technique.
Yeah.
It almost felt to me like they thought, oh, maybe this will be the last scene of the episode. And so that
kinda
could
feel like
so
that,
that
right?
like that could have been, maybe that shot then pulls out the same way this one does, and they weren't sure, like, oh, which one are we going to use? And then they found in the editing that it worked better to use the other one. And maybe they didn't do it because that would have given too much weight to this one character.
It's an interesting thought, especially because this episode was an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
So maybe that was the cutoff point for the original. I don't know. We're just reading tea leaves here, but the effect of it was that it did give this extra sort of what's going on
with this
there
character?
with Peggy's
Yeah.
boss. Yeah.
So I guess we'll have to see what happens next time. No speculation corner in polite.
No, just polite fighting. Thanks for your insightful comments, as always, on the Fargo review. We had are there any other commenters we want to shout out to?
Lifeless Husk had a good point about how there's not a lot of resolution in this episode. I thought that was interesting. We didn't get into it. Sorry, Lifeless Husk.
Sorry, we didn't get to talk about it more, Lifeless Husk. I just like saying Lifeless Husk. That's a great comment.
Good comment, Ian. Yeah, I think that's it for this week.
Okay, let's wave bye to the folks then. Thanks for watching Polite Fight. Bye.